Yeah. So this Sikha is from Chelik Aleph, and the Rebbe is going to speak about the Haftorah. Since in this week's parsha we talk about the Chet HaEgel, so similarly in the Haftorah it talks about a situation with Eliyahu Navi. In the times of Eliyahu Navi, a lot of Yidden, maybe even a majority of Yidden in Malchus Yisrael, were over the Avodah Zarah, and Eliyahu had to try to bring them to the straight and narrow. But the Rebbe is going to emphasize about a certain category of Yidden that were not just straight over the Avodah Zarah, but they were like wishy-washy. They were not really sure. This way, that way, Avodah Zarah, Hashem, we're going to bow down to idols, we're going to serve God. They weren't sure.
We like it both.
Huh?
We like it both.
Yeah. She says, B'Haftorah's Parshas Tisa, the bottom of page 170, Yud Aleph. B'Haftorah's Parshas Tisa, Mesupar Eliyahu, Navi relates about Eliyahu, as she'asa k'shehoisei tzara, when there was a problem, k'sheba k'cholei tzara, Biglal tishtush hadeyis of bilbo hamoiches, like all problems and all suffering that Yidden suffer comes from mix-ups, from brains and being scrambled. Eliyahu Hanavi Asaf is called Navi Baal, the Kol Yisrael. He gathered all the prophets of the Baal and all the Yidden v'amar lahem ad mosai atem poischim al shtei asiyipim, until when are you going to be skipping and jumping over both sides? You're going to be on both sides of the fence. And it went on, either LaHashem or LaBaal. That's a very strange thing. Why did he ask them this? His complaint should have been, why, till when are you going to serve the Baal? Not, if you're for the Baal, stay for the Baal, and if you're for Hashem, you're for Hashem. It's enough. Stop already serving the Baal. Proclaim Hashem is God, and that's it. So to be able to understand this, Hadvarim Yuvnu la'achar asbara mukdemes shalahevdel ben Avodah Zarah ben Poischim al shtei asifim. The Rebbe is going to analyze, in general, the idea of idolatry and the idea of those people that are wishy-washy. And the approach of the whole Sikha is, the more severe problem, even though for sure Avodah Zarah is the worst of the worst, but there's no doubts. When you have doubts, you're in a lot bigger problems than if you are completely doing something wrong. And the whole Sikha is going to follow along with this idea that being in doubts and going maybe like this, maybe like that, leads you to worse and is the most difficult thing to change from, etc. Good base. Move on. How can it come that a Jew serves Avodah Zarah? The Torah testifies that the Jewish people are believers, children of believers, meaning they themselves are believers, their forefathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were believers. The whole idea of denying Hashem is something that doesn't apply by them. So the Rebbe is going to explain it by bringing a famous Rambam. The Rambam explains the history of Avodah Zarah. It's a very interesting thing. We believe that Hashem created the world. We know Hashem created the world. So the first people knew Hashem. Adam Marish knew Hashem. How did it come from the fact that Adam and Chava and Cain and Hevel knew Hashem personally, from personal experience, and then eventually how did Avodah Zarah develop? So the Rambam gives a very interesting progression, how the human psychology, how the human mind works, that eventually that leads to Avodah Zarah. The beginning of their going in what's called a Yiddish bludgeon, to wander off after Avodah Zarah, after Avodah Zarah, Haisa mishum sha'ashpa shalom mayla ayveres derech hagecham v'amazolos. We see physically that the world gets all their physical good through the sun, the moon, the stars. They influence and they cause the crops to grow, the rain comes down, the moon even affects certain crops and the waves and so on. So they saw all these things, they believed in God, but they saw all these things participating, being used to be able to give physical good to us here in this world. They felt as follows. They believed that these stars, the moons, the sun, all these things were like, for example, a waiter. You asked the waiter, can you give me an extra cup of water? It's not his water to give. Or can you give me another whatever? It's not his to give, but you ask him anyway. The same thing. These are servants of Hashem. These are means and channels for Hashem to bring his ashpah down here. So they felt that how do you get more of what, even though it's coming from Hashem, how do you get it? You have to serve and you have to pray and you have to daven to the sun, the moon, the stars. Eventually, people forgot about the source. They forgot that there's the boss. They thought it's only the waiter. They thought it was only the sun, the moon, the stars. And that's how the lowest level of Avodah Zarah developed. But even in that more refined level of Avodah Zarah, the truth is, Shalom Roisha Ashpoi, Veres Derech HaGecham HaMazolos, Ein Loslam Kovid, Lefisha Einam Elam Kigarzim Biyad HaChoitziv. They're not like a waiter in a restaurant. They're not like your server, because they are completely like an axe. Nobody's going to say to the axe, I need more wood. Chop me some more wood. Even though a wood chopper uses the axe to chop the wood. No, the axe has no choice in the matter whatsoever. It's only the wood chopper that directs the axe. The same thing, the sun, the moon, etc. These are no more than an axe. There's no benefit of speaking to them, talking to them, asking them for things. There's a difference. There is certain individuals that we are supposed to honor, and that's a father and mother, versus the stars, the moon, we're not supposed to. We weren't commanded to give any honor to the sun and so on. It's considered Avodah Zarah if you honor the sun and so on. What's the difference? Both of them, aren't they both messengers from Hashem? One's father and mother had a choice. If they wouldn't have gotten together, if they wouldn't have gotten married, they wouldn't have had you. So they have choice. Because they have choice, they are not like an axe in the hand of a wood chopper, and therefore we have a mitzvah to honor our parents. They're like an axe, and therefore it's not only that we don't have to honor them, it's usur, it's considered idolatry. The sin is covered. Idolatry is one of the most severe sins. The Gemara says that how powerful Avodah Zarah is, idolatry is, it's not just one Avera. It's a person that denies idolatry, that's considered as if he's accepting and devoting himself to the entire Torah. Because that's how crucial and that's how vital the idea of the Avera, the transgression of idolatry. Nimtza Ephraim, Shesibes HaAvodah Zarah Haisam, Behesem Lemusagim HaMesulafim Shesharu Bekirbam, L'Shem Kabbalas Hashpoas Gashmis. What was the purpose? What was the reason? They felt that this would ensure their pipeline. They're going to have, like we said before, they're going to have a connection to the waiter. They're going to be able to get more stuff out of the kitchen. So they said, let's serve the sun, let's serve the moons, let's serve the stars. And this is going to be like the underlying theme of what he's going to talk about throughout the Sikha also. The idea of Avodah Zarah is for me to be able to get more out of it. That's why it's possible for a Jew to transgress Avodah Zarah. No Jew believes truly in the sun being a god, the moon being a god, and so on. It's only for the sake of his own benefit. It's brought down an amazing thing in Sfarim that says, even at times of Achav, when Eliyahu lived, when there was the majority of Yidden, at least in Malchi Yisrael, that were bowing down to Avodah Zarah, they did the other mitzvahs. It wasn't like they were Perek Oil Lagamri. They ate kosher. The proof from it is that in Tanakh he says that Eliyahu Navi, when he was running away, he didn't have what to eat, birds brought him from Achav's kitchen food to eat. And Achav was like the biggest of the Avodah Zarah. How could he eat from the food of Achav? But it didn't mean because they served Avodah Zarah, it means that they fried out. They didn't believe in Yiddishkeit. They kept Yiddishkeit. They ate kosher, they put on tefillin, etc., etc. But they felt that by davening, by serving this and this Avodah Zarah, it's like making friends with the waiter. They didn't give up on tefillin, they didn't give up on kosher. So what does that mean? They believed in God, except they were looking at for pnius atzmius. They were looking to see how I can gain, and because of that they believed, if I'm going to pray to the sun, I'm going to get more sunshine on my crops, and my crops will grow better. Yehudi ha'ovid HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ein ze kedei she'yashpeh lo yitzrachav. A Jew, when he serves Hashem, it's not about his own personal gain. He's truly devoted to Hashem. That's the natural state of a Jew, to be devoted to Hashem. Not for the sake of receiving the reward. A Jew by nature is connected to Hashem and wants to serve Hashem. Of course, when necessary, or more than when necessary, he'll pray to Hashem, he'll daven to Hashem, he'll say, give me this, give me that, give me the other thing. But it's not, why do I believe in Hashem so I should be able to get stuff from you? No. I have a connection with Hashem. That's what a Yid is. And then, because I have a connection, so also if I need something, that's who I turn to. The Avodah Zarah, it's only a business deal by him. It's only the pnius atzmius. Why am I praying to the Avodah Zarah? Because I'm going to gain something out of it. And that was the cheshbon of those Jews that bowed down to Avodah Zarah. In Yirmiyahu Hanavi it says over there that the Ovdei Baal said, from when we stopped doing things for the Avodah Zarah, we were missing everything. In other words, this is what they believed. They believed that the Avodah Zarah supplied them whatever their needs were. So, in the meantime, we've defined what Avodah Zarah is. We haven't yet defined what the Pesach al Shtei Asifim, the guy that's in doubts. A little bit here, this way, that way, wishy-washy. Yud Gimel. Lamroi Avodah Zarah b'ifin klali hi beglal hashpos shemekablim darkom. Yesh aval b'davar ze'atzmai shnei sugim Avodah Zarah psich al Shtei Asifim. In Avodah Zarah itself, even though it's all about personal interest, I want to gain from it. But in that category, there's true Avodah Zarah. He's completely devoted to this idol, or like we said before, Pesteach al Shtei Asifim. He's not sure. Avodah Zarah hi kisha adam savr be'emes Avodah Zarah manika shefa. He really believes that Avodah Zarah gives him anything that he needs. And he needs his parnasa, he needs whatever it is, his health, he's got to pray to this idol. True, it's self-interest. It's because he wants stuff. But he really believes that if he bows down to this idol, he's going to get it. This is, I'm hedging my bets. This is, I'm betting on two things. Let's do this, but just in case, let's do that. I don't know which one works. How's it work with the stock market? You short and you, what's shot? You do a short and you do what? So how's it work? Nobody knows the stock market. You bet, you short a stock and also you buy a stock, something like that. So then you're assured either way that if it goes up, so then you have it. If it goes down, something like that. That's the Pesach al Shtei Asifim. They're always in a doubt. Nobody knows anything about the stock market here. No. From time to time, you see, Avodah Zarah didn't do anything for you. Sug acher shel psicha, another way of like skipping and jumping on both sides of the fence. Shituf. In halacha, there's something called partnership. We know Hashem's the boss, but there's like, he has partners, he has sub-Avodah Zarah. It's lahavdil what Christianity believes. There is Hashem, and then there's someone else also. Adam maimin ba'kadosh baruch hu, v'gam lahavdil Avodah Zarah. So it's two varieties over here. One variety is, today he believes in this, tomorrow he believes in that, next day he goes back here, because he's not sure. He's the whole time playing the market to see what's going to work for him. And the other type of Pesach al Shtei Asifim is just to be safe. I'm going to do both things. So the Rebbe says...
This is not what you're saying that people did during the time of Eliyahu?
No, this is also... This is the main problem of the people of Eliyahu. This is what Eliyahu Hanavi was saying. Ad Mosai atam poiskim al Shtei Asifim.
But they were doing the second one.
So,
the poiskim al Shtei Asifim divided into two.
Yeah. It's two different kinds of poiskim al Shtei Asifim. So he says, La mita shel davar, don't make it like, okay, I believe in God and I believe in something else. What's the big deal? So I believe in two things instead of in one God. Is it so terrible?
Okay.
So he says, yeah, you're 50% correct. So he says, La mita shel davar afilu avodah zarah b'shituf, or the first thing, mishum safek, v'afilu b'dibur b'lvad, m'mais lavad, l'loy shemamenu b'lev klal. He's just saying words. He's just bowing down, but he doesn't really believe it. He aveira gedola ma'od ad shegamala moisedish Yisrael's nafshi kamer betanya. A Jewish person is willing to give up his life, even if he doesn't believe, just not to say words of admitting to Avodah Zarah, or not doing an action that's going to show that he believes in Avodah Zarah, even though deep down in his heart he doesn't believe. So there's no question about it. That's a terrible, terrible aveira to be Pesach al Shtei Asifim, whether in the first variety or the second variety. Yudalit. So now the Rebbe is going to explain, based on this difference between Avodah Zarah and Pesach al Shtei Asifim, we're going to see why did Eliyahu focus on Pesach al Shtei Asifim, because it's even worse than Avodah Zarah. Lefiza muvan she'pratim rabim garua yosra inyan she'Pesach al Shtei Asifim Avodah Zarah. Labroi she'bayim klali. Garua yosra Avodah Zarah she'kein adam ze mushchas tamid u'koyf rachman l'slan. For sure, there's no question about it. Just not believing in God and believing in an idol is definitely the most depraved and lowest of the low. Ach biyachas l'teshuvah, but when a person wants to return to Hashem, garua yoysa pesach al shtei asifim. That's worse. Someone that's jumping back and forth. Mishum shekosher yoiser lepeseach al shtei asipim lachzer b'teshuvah shleima amitis. It's much more difficult for a person like that to actually do teshuvah. Yesh b'kach shnei pratim. There's two details and aspects to this. Aleph, Hashem and Avodah Zarah hadekishim izbader lo yishavayu lakim. Someone that up to a certain point believed in Avodah Zarah, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, he changed his mind. And he realized, whatever it was, because of a miracle, let's say that Eliyahu Navi performed, for some other reason, he says, what am I talking about? Havayu Elikim. God is the real God, nothing else. So, and he realizes, how did I live my life up till now? I was like a terrible life living. He's going to do an appropriate teshuvah because he realizes how terribly wrong he was, so he completely regrets it and completely leaves it behind. Like we said before, he believes also in Hashem. What's so terrible, he thinks to himself? I never did not believe in Hashem. I believed in Hashem. But, I was always in a doubt. I never denied Hashem completely. I always gave Hashem like the benefit of the doubt. There's God also. I justify myself. I'm tzaddik be'enai. Kach ein mischaret be'emes ve'ein shuvasei shleimam. There is a famous word. I think we learned this in a Sikha not too long ago, one of the Thursday nights. I don't remember. B'negeya, that it says that a carbon asham talui, a carbon that's brought on a doubt, you need to spend more money on that carbon than a carbon that's brought on the Aveda you did definitively. Why? Because we learned this. The Aveda that you did definitely, so then the person regrets it. They know they did wrong. So they're going to do teshuvah anyway. So even if they don't spend as much on the carbon, on the sacrifice, it's not so terrible. The problem is, if he's in doubt if he did an Aveda, so then he justifies himself, said, no, I didn't really do anything wrong, I don't even know, and so on. So therefore the Chacham said, you need to have an extra poke. You need to make sure to really do teshuvah. Your carbon has to be more expensive. It's the same idea over here. The person that's Pesach al Shtei Asifim, he says, I didn't do something so terrible. I always believed in God. He has all these justifications. Because he has all these justifications, he doesn't do a real teshuvah. He doesn't really regret what he did. Beis, another issue is, someone that believes in Avodah Zarah, not in partnership, not in Pesach al Shtei Asifim. That's, like we said before, totally the lowest that could be. Rahman Latzlan. He believes that Baal is in one control, nothing else. But Ram, Yitochen Sheim Ki Nutik Melakim Be'emes, Hari Klal Inyan Haruchnius Nageloi. It very possibly could be that spirituality matters to him. The problem is he misinterpreted the spirituality. And he believed that the Baal, the Avodah Zarah, that was spiritual. Not only doesn't he want to have to do with the true God, spirituality doesn't matter. He only cares to cover all of his bases. That's what he's interested in. Spirituality, truth, real. So the guy that serves Avodah Zarah, he thinks that that's real. The guy that's jumping on both sides, he doesn't care what's real. He just cares about, where am I going to gain? Where am I going to have more from? The guy that skips on both sides. He knows that Havaya is Elokim. He knows that Hashem is the power. Still in all, Muchen hu lahamich Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu begashmis. He's willing to exchange Hashem for a few more dollars. Lahachlif mekor mayim chaim telachtzev boros nishbarim, like the expression is in Yirmiyahu Hanavi, that he says that the Jewish people left a living wellspring of water to go and get from broken cisterns that can't contain water. The same thing, going after Avodah Zarah is like leaving behind a living spring of water. So he says like this, he concludes this idea. Spirituality matters to him. So therefore, he's just got a mistake. He's got a mistaken idea of spirituality. You think about it, especially in the 60s. A lot of people, the hippies and so on, were searching for spirituality. So they went to the ashrams, and they went to India, and they went to all these places. Did they want to deny Hashem? No. Adrabah. They didn't want to have to do with the physical. They weren't looking to make another buck. They were looking for spirituality, but they didn't know where to look for it. When those people realized their mistake, and they realized that Yiddishkeit is the truth, adrabah. Their commitment and passion and excitement about Yiddishkeit is so much more powerful than even someone that grew up in it. Why? Because they were always looking for spirituality. This is what they were about. So, the guy that's like jumping on both sides, it doesn't matter to him spirituality. All that matters is the physical world. When he finally realizes that the sun, the moon, the stars, the gurus, the ashrams, they're not going to give him anything physically, and the only one that could supply him with his physical needs is Hashem, his return to Hashem will also be a calculated thing. Oh, they don't give me anything. God is the one to give me. So they're never really committed to Hashem. It's just exactly. So, you guys, the sun, you failed. The ashram failed. The transcendental meditation failed. Maybe I'll turn to God. Maybe He's going to give me the good stuff. So again, it's not about my connection to Hashem. It's again about my connection to what I want. I want life, I want health, I want money, I want whatever it is. So now, Kala Amr Tesvavi says, Ubiyachas, I think it's supposed to say Biyachas, La Adam Atzmai. All of the above is the issues with a Pesach al Shtei Asifim concerning the person himself. What's going on internally? Now the Rebbe is going to say, what effect does this have on another? Someone that is an Ovid Avodah Zarah's effect on another, or someone that's jumping on both sides of the fence is effect. So he's saying, Ach yesh prat noisav sheboy geru apiseach al shtei asipim in ha'ovid Avodah Zarah v'hu ba'ashpal azulas, their influence on another. Min ha'ovid Avodah Zarah lo yilmed af Yehudi, no Jew is going to learn from someone that serves Avodah Zarah. Kivin she'yadu alav shu kaifer, he knows the guy denies God. He doesn't want to have anything to do with him. This is not what Jews are about. Since he's a believer, people are going to relate to him, and people are going to follow him. And therefore, now not only is he ruining his own life, he's ruining another person's life. And we know that a person that ruins someone else's life, he is the most difficult person to do Teshuvah, and he's the worst than any other type of sinner. This is similar to also, all of this is similar to also these new movements that came up since the 70s, where people, act like they're Jewish. They wear tzitzis and they wear a kippah, but they really say they believe in Yoshka. They're trying to show you can do Pesach al Shtei Asifim. You can do both. You can believe in Avodah Zarah. You can believe. Those are the ones that mislead the most. A galach comes, a priest comes and says, "Go bow down to him." Says, a Jew should go ahead and bow down to that? Never. But a Jew sees someone else say, "You could be Jewish," and that's worse. And that was their plan. That was their whole chachma from the 70s. Why they invented? Because they realized they wouldn't be able to influence a Jew by just saying, wearing a cross, go bow down, put on a yarmulke, put on tzitzis, then go tell him to bow down. He says, it can be Pesach al Shtei Asifim. It's a very interesting Gemara. The Gemara says that after all the tzaras that we saw during the whole reason why the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed was because of Avodah Zarah, and it was a terrible time of Avodah Zarah. So they got together and they totally destroyed the Yetzer Hara, the desire for people to have a want to do Avodah Zarah. That's why these days, normally a normal Jew doesn't have the type of passion for Avodah Zarah that we read about in Tanakh, that there was all these different stories that, like I said before, the majority of Yidden bowed down to Avodah Zarah, either like 7,000 Yidden of a whole Am Yisrael that didn't bow down to idols. We can't understand it, because no one of us in our minds would ever consider to bow down to idols. But this was a big Yetzer Hara in those days, and the Sanhedrin took that away from the Jewish people. They were vatlus Avodah Zarah. So he says, only Avodah Zarah but was removed, not the Pesach al Shtei Asifim. Baram ha'inyan shel Pesach al Shtei Asifim chazak am ata min ha'yetzer hara shel Avodah Zarah im bedakas dadakas, im bedakas or midi yisera mekach. Not really Pesach Shtei Asifim. Again, not really, bowing down one day to Avodah Zarah and not the other day, but in a more subtle form, in a more edel form, there's this type of idea. And now he's going to explain this in the physical thing, in American types of the pursuit of making a living and putting all of our confidence and trust in the almighty dollar and so on. Yesh ke'ela shemishum pniyas gashmis sheparnasa kavod amedume u'mayem rabriyas mevatrem hem lefisha al kama v'kama in yom shel Torah mitzvos. Either they have all types of motives. Either they want to make a better living, or they want to be respected, or they're worried about what the neighbors will say, what people will say. So temporarily, at least, they forgo certain things in Torah mitzvahs. Lemisper yamim, lemisper shvuos, mamidim as Shulchan Aruch yachdim HaKadosh Baruch Hu kaviyachol al madaf for a few days or a few weeks. They put the Shulchan Aruch away on the shelf, along with Hashem. They put it away on the shelf. So people shouldn't say, this guy doesn't know what the world is about. That's America. You got to give up all this old-fashioned stuff. You have to go according to the modern day spirit. They shouldn't say he's out of it. Or should have honor that he imagines it's honor, or should have more money. The Rebbe says, in truth, if a person, for the sake of money, gives up on Yiddishkeit, the extra money will be spent on negative expenses, on doctors. Since the money does not come appropriate to the will of Hashem, it's being expended for not good things. He's missing what said in Birchas Kohanim, that Hashem will give you the brachas in Gashmias, and He will protect you from things that damage you, because you don't have a connection with Hashem. You've disconnected yourself from Hashem, so you've disconnected yourself from Hashem's protection. So even if the money comes in, Nebuch, the money has to be spent on negative things. Temporarily, he's willing to put up his own soul and Hashem for sale. Yes, Efeladash, Protim Rabim, Garu Adavar Avodah Zarah, time in his Kodim, he has to know that in many details, doing this temporary, I'm just doing this temporarily, is worse than Avodah Zarah that he completely gives up on it. Aleph, when he just does it temporarily, he doesn't believe it's so severe. He doesn't think that he's in such a terrible situation. In general, I do what's right. I'm a Torah observant Jew. What's so terrible? For a short while, I'll give up on this particular thing. Beis, who moshchas, he's a very low person. He trades spiritual things that are everlasting, for material things that are only temporary. He sells his world to come, which is everlasting, l'shem kesef v'kavod, for money and honor. Gimel, like we said before, he makes other sin. If he's openly denying God, completely devoid of Torah mitzvahs, you'll try to approach another Jew. He said, "What are you? You're shmadzich. You're out of the program." But if he wraps it up in saying, temporarily, that's not so terrible. Maybe a pasuk, he even brings a proof. He finds a pasuk to support him. He finds something that says the Chazal said, he influences others for bad. For this we have the lesson into this week's Haftorah. The main call is like we said before. Eliyahu didn't say, till when are you going to serve the Baal? He said, till when are you going to be going on both sides? It's even worse, such a situation than Avodah Zarah. It's supposed to say Ha-Elikim, that over there, all the Bnei Yisrael did Teshuvah, and they called out twice that Hashem is God. And the Rebbe says, Yoisem Matan Torah, it's even more than Matan Torah. Over there it says only once, I am Hashem your God. The Yidden called out twice. How come? Wow, it's a lot of typos. That when a person does Teshuvah, they reach so much higher than they were even prior to doing a sin. Someone that never did a sin is on one level. Someone that did Teshuvah is even higher than that. So once Havayahu Alekim, that is a level of didn't do anything wrong. Havayu Alekim twice, that's after Teshuvah, that's so much higher. V'loi pishtayim b'kamus, it doesn't mean double quantitatively. It's not just 2 times as much. It's completely of a different quality higher. All those that are on both sides of the fence should return Teshuvah, and there'll be double strength. Yisrael Yidden are responsible one for another and are mixed into each other. The Rebbe says, like, squeezes in the middle, what's going to happen if I do Teshuvah? But we're saying before, one of the problems of the Pesach al Sipim was that he influenced others for bad. The person could think, what does it help my doing Teshuvah? I influence so many people for bad. So the Rebbe says like this, when a person does Teshuvah, they reach such a high level, like we said before, so that powerful light that they draw down will also trickle down and have an effect even on those people that they influence for bad. Yitin HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Sheyadar B'chesed V'rachmim, the Rebbe gives a bracha that this matter should be with kindness and mercy, V'machtim, Yachad Melo Shenigra Aleim, Achareim, both those that made other sin, along with those that follow them, Yachzor B'Teshuvah, Kiflaim Tushia, should do Teshuvah, doubly for strength, V'yomer Kulam Yachad, and all should say together, Havayu Olakim, Havayu Olakim.